thanks, Hal. So I have a few opening remarks. I wrote this statement at 10:18 p.m. at night, sitting in my bed, eating fried chicken and thinking about old lovers. I thought about how this project has changed since its conception. The original idea was, as I guess you've all read, to collaboratively challenge societal notions of women through art and writing by hub members, a book that would reflect a multiplicity of opinions and lived experiences in the writer's house vernacular, which is, of course, poetry and prose. And although the fundamental methodology I thought out has stayed in place, each writer responded in 50 words to a collage image I created, and I compiled the book with the help of the photocopier and the letterpress, I couldn't help insert my own self into the images I collaged or in the way I laid someone else's text out on the page. A reference to Freud jolted my thoughts on the psychoanalytic conception of female as absence. A kindergarten photo prompted me to think about Catholicism and ideal femininity. I laid pages on my bedroom floor and drew little sketches in my diary of which page backed which, numbered them, and scribbled it out when I got things wrong, which was a lot. I spattered earlier drafts of pages with water from wet hair and accidental unrelated tears. With the blood from each staple I pulled out and each skin cell I accidentally glued to a page, the book became, for me, a kind of self-objectification, a laying of my body, both literally and intellectually, upon a page. And then I began to wonder, are our bodies the most important thing for us as women? Can reclaiming a patriarchal male objectification through the voluntary exposure of our bodies be a celebration of agency? Bodies are difficult, and when it comes to self-objectification, I've been on every side of the debate. I've stripped, I've starved, I've examined every crevice of myself in a mirror, and then refused to glance at shiny surfaces for weeks. Is my body the only way in which I can relate to the wider world, even when it's presented in language? Am I exploiting the cultural system of sexualizing and discursively limiting women, or is it exploiting me? Although this book doesn't have any answers per se to this many-faceted dilemma, it certainly recognizes its complexities. And this recognition is exactly what feminism is about, rather than any kind of delineation or categorization of female subjectivity, or for that matter, sexuality. This book body I created doesn't stand alone. Rather, inscribed upon it are the voices of others that remind me exactly of the relational processes of working out personal feminisms, how my own opinions constantly evolve based on interactions with other people, whether in casual debate or in line at the grocery store. So the feminism manifested in this book is ultimately collaborative. My images aren't selfish. They're part of a shared consciousness that calls for solidarity, but that allows for individual difference. And though it seems that one book isn't quite enough to change the world in some sweeping and masculine, heroic gesture, its existence, honest and unedited, is in itself an integral part of a wider political project. Jack Spicer once wrote a poem called Admonition for Jack that now is pretty much the motto for my life. It goes, tell everyone to have guts. Do it yourself. Have guts until the guts come through the margins, clear and pure, like love is. This book has guts. Its words bleed into negative spaces and scatter binary borders of black and white. It is feminist writing, and that, to me, is the art of the beautiful and the still more difficult art of living. So that's what the book is to me. But the goal for tonight is to discuss the issues it brings up for you guys. So we're going to try and make this as interactive as possible. You guys should tell me if you want the mic, and I'll bring it to you. And these guys will be talking. But first, I'll introduce you to them, your lovely panel. Sadie Stein is a writer and editor on the website Jezebel.com, which is for and by and about women. She lives in New York and has written extensively on women's issues, history, literature, and anything else that's needed. Katie L. Price is a third year in Penn's English PhD program. Her primary research interests are contemporary North American poetry, formalism, and pataphysics. She focuses on conceptual and procedural poetry and authors that prefer excessive precision over emotional overflow. Next fall, she will teach a course entitled Writing and Modern Technology, which investigates the role of the typewriter, the computer, and the internet on poetic forms. Before moving to Philadelphia, Julia Block worked for nearly 10 years in feminist and queer media in the San Francisco Bay Area. Most recently, she covered lesbian pop culture and politics at Curve, current women's writing at Bitch, feminist response to pop culture, and youth activism at Wiretap. A poet and PhD candidate in English at Penn, Julia is writing a dissertation on gender and literary form in innovative poetry. Allyson Harris is a sexual health educator and social worker in training. Her fierce commitment to emotional activism and the authenticity theory of revolution have aided in the production of works in various media, including A Dolphin Tavern, XSX's, and Smudging Eyeliner. Her interests include the privatization of water, female cultural production of the 1990s, archetypes as expressed through Western astrology, and the helping instinct. All right, so I guess we're gonna start off. I thought one interesting thing to bring up would be Riot Grrrl in the 1990s and DIY culture, because although this book is sort of fairly well put together, I found the Xerox machine was a really important part of my process. The initial idea was that I would letterpress each poem, but I just didn't have the time. So I really just didn't. And the Xerox the copier machine was wonderful. It just allowed me to make work without that much effort and without that much time. So I mean, I was wondering if you guys had any thoughts on this idea of like DIY culture as enabling the political in some way.
Well, I'll speak on it if I can. So I don't know. In looking at this, I was thinking a lot about the zine and, you know, how the zine came about. Like, it was all pre-internet, you know. So to see this now, it's like a little bit cleaner, just because like copy technology is better, you know. I mean, it's just like everything about it is just like a little more polished. Your generation's a little more polished. Just in general, the affect is cuter. Like, it's just, you know, I think when zines first came about, they were, you know, it was, punk was pretty messy, you know. And so, you know, in terms of the Riot Grrrls, you know, they were coming up as a response to the hardcore scene and the punk scene, which was really like sweaty, messy dudes, you know. And then they were kind of like the joke is that there was a lot of like girls that would get pushed out of the mosh pit and they'd be holding the coats for the boyfriends and they would like be called coat hangers or something, which is ironic on many levels. But you know, and so it's funny to now see this like taken into, it's gone through the corporatization of the media, of, you know, like Riot Grrrl was this response to this underground response, which of the corporate and the commodification and all of that, and then it itself got commodified, and then it got played out, and now it's like gone back into the avant-garde in this way, which in terms of time, I don't know really what that means, but that's what I was thinking a lot about. But honestly, I don't think the Riot Grrrls were that busy. Like, you know, they lived in Olympia. They like go to the co-op
jobs,
and then they come back and then they like go to the co-op.
They had jobs and boyfriends. Boys take time.
Well, yeah,